Welcome to our first 40 of Transport Fever 2. We'll be doing a main campaign, just sort of playthrough, learning about the game, playing through the game. I have played a little bit, so I'll kind of know what to do with the objectives of at least the first mission. And then we'll just see where things go from there. This is just to introduce you all to this. I've got some ideas for a Viewers Invest, and so I might talk about some of those ideas freehand as we play through. So let's jump into the campaign.
Mankind is constantly creating amazing new inventions. Get involved in rapid technological progress and ensure smoothly running transportation in different regions of the world.
Alright, so there's 3 campaigns. We'll go campaign 1, or 3 chapters, I guess. We'll go into chapter 1, mission 1.
America, in the midst of the 19th century. In the Nevada Territory, where until recently only a handful of buffalo grazed, nowadays it's all hustle and bustle. Beyond the Sierra and near the Carson River, gold has been found. There's supposed to be loads of it. All you need to do is dig it up. Anyone who keeps at it hard enough will be richly rewarded. What a splendid opportunity.
Alright, so I was drawn to this game because it reminds me of Railroad Tycoon 3, which I loved. I have loved. If I could get it working again, I would be redeeming for it for us to get to play it. But I can never figure out how to... I have the Steam copy and I can't get it to work. I have a GOG copy and I can't get it to work. I have an original disc somewhere. I couldn't get it to work. And so I've had that itch to scratch for years now, and this game is looking to scratch that. Speaking of that, I'm also scratching my back. Alright, here we go.
Welcome to uncharted territory, newcomer. Wanna get rich? Then you're in just the right place. Gold Rush fever holds sway in Virginia City. And you lucky devil, you've won the mining rights for a promising claim in a poker game at the Red Dog Saloon. Soon you'll be hauling out gold nuggets as big as a cat's head. Thanks to cleverness and luck at cards, you have a gold mine all your own. The former owner, a gal at the saloon by the name of Susie, who plays a lousy hand of poker, already took care of the groundwork. And a practical woman, she left the necessary equipment behind too. Now all you have to do is to find the mine. Get an overview and find out where the riches lie.
Alright, so this is just learning how to do the camera. How to tilt the camera and move around.
Discover the entrance to the tunnel.
Alright, so the basis of this game is transporting goods from one location to another, and that is how you make money. And so you never directly own any businesses. You just... Oops. He's got to talk to us.
What a promising claim. Even though only a few boulders have been mined so far, that's no reason to lose heart. You'll just have to dig deeper. You ought to get hold of some solid timber from the nearby forest so that the fine shaft doesn't cave in. The beams will be excellent for stabilizing the tunnel. Build a station where the horse carts can be packed with logs.
And so yeah, this is where I think we could have sort of 2 layers to a viewer's invest. One of them, though, is a kind of mild viewers elect. So the first idea would be viewers would be able to form different companies, or even just have like a sole proprietorship. You would invest your thorns at a 1 thorn to $1,000 ratio. So in this case, we're going to be building a truck station And so that would be 50 thorns right there.
Explain to the sort of thick-skulled driver which route he should take.
Well, there to there. Oops, I don't know what I'm doing.
Now, there's got to be a small depot to park the horse-drawn carts, too.
Alright, so then you'd be able to set different lines. So you could have a different... I believe you could have... Well, actually, let's test if you can have multiple lines doing the exact same thing. So this could be Company A, and they would be the red company. And then we'd have Company B. They could be the blue company. Alright, so then you'd have a situation where either we would just have like the city government, quote unquote, be paying for the truck stops and whatever the infrastructure, or we could have it be where a company themselves could actually pay for it and own it. In this case, let's assume that the mayor of Virginia City is very pro-business, and so the city is paying for these 2 truck stops, as well as the depot. So that'd be another 20 thorns, 20 and a half.
Now, all you have to do is to get hold of a cart to transport the wood.
Alright, so then this is where the companies would come in. We have 2 main types of vehicles, passenger and cargo. We're going to be using cargo to transport the wood. So let's say Company A is willing to put out 47.8 thorns to buy 2 vehicles.
A sturdy vehicle. The transport can get started.
So then he'll put them with Company A. And then Company B is like, okay, I can only afford 23.9 thorns worth. So they purchase a vehicle for Company B.
It won't be long before it's possible to dig deeper. Well then, good luck.
Alright. So here we'll also be able to rename the carts just to make sure it's like Company A. And we can even give them little colors. We go to details, which I could have done inside the depot before sending them out on the road. So luckily you can name everything the exact same. So it allows us to be like, yeah, Company A, this can be Company B. Company B. Alright, so here we can see Company A has their red wagons, Company B has their blue wagons. And when we get deeper into the game, we'll actually be able to see both lines, Company A and Company B's lines, and like the full breakdown. So this will want to rename Company A, Company A log, what town is this again? Virginia City. So VC logs. That's so that we remember, because we'll be naming everything Company A and Company B to sort of showcase what it would look like if you had 2 different companies using the same stuff. So maybe a third company will be formed, or maybe even, like, let's say there's 3 viewers, 2 have pooled their money to make Company B, and 1 is just much thornier, and is able to just pay for Company A themselves. Then the system would allow for that. So as we get deeper, you can just sort of imagine, oh, okay, yeah, what if there's 2 companies here? What if there's... or maybe when we get to the trains, we'll have it be a third company. But for now, we'll just go through the... wait until the logs move. So here you can see the individual amount of money that the actual one vehicle has done. So you could even allow, let's say...
Ha! Not everything that glitters is gold. Maybe...
Alright, we'll pause that for now. Oh my god. Alright, so let's say that one company actually pays for the stops. Then they could say, okay, to run a teamster carrying wood along these 2 stops that I've paid for with my company. You have to pay me 10 thorns or something like that. And then it can all be one line, and you can just individually look at the carts to see how they're making money. So let's illustrate that. Let's buy a vehicle. We'll buy it for 23.9. And this vehicle we will paint yellow. But it's going to go on Company A's log line. That's because we're going to call it Company C. And the idea being that they are working with Company A to be able to run this this wagon of logs. So then Company A just gets the profits or the revenue, or even takes the loss if it's a losing proposition, but in this case, you'll be making a little bit of money. And so in this case, Company A, while they run the whole line, they only are getting the thorns from their 2 wagons. Well, then Company C didn't have to go through the whole of building, constructing things. Maybe they're able to just give 10 or 20 thorns to Company A, and they're able to just run their wagon and make thorns from the money. So it's super versatile and easy to tell, like it's easy to define property rights, which is important in a viewer's invest. So let's move on to the next task.
Ha! Not everything that glitters is gold. Maybe your poker partner was sharper than you thought. Despite all the hardship, the mine only brings in a few chunks of silver ore. At best, you ought to get rid of it before it ruins you. Luckily, you greenhorns constantly get stranded in Virginia City, who you can peddle that confounded pit to for good money.
And then another example could be if we want to allow for the purchase of individual businesses, or at least the purchase of what essentially would be delivery and distribution rights. Because the businesses themselves, they produce, they then have things to ship, and then they hope that we transport. But they themselves, we never see any of their money, we never can actually own them. But let's say we allow the Virginia forest to be auctioned off to, say, Company B is able to get it, then maybe Company A has to then pay them either yearly rights or just a one-time fee. They could work it out themselves to continue their log delivery, Company A's log delivery, which then obviously would have that kind of knockdown effect to Company C and so on. So we could play around with that, allowing people to own different businesses, which would mainly just give you the power to dictate who can take your goods or deliver goods to you, which that's where the money's at. The money is where you're getting the fever, the transport fever. Alright, we will build a cargo station. So now we're going to learn about trains. Alright.
The terrain is treacherous. It requires a few very twisted curves.
Alright, so this could be a situation again where either the town, maybe even Virginia City and Carson City, would be paying for this infrastructure, or an individual company would be paying for it, but then they would own the rights. So there'd be those sort of choices of companies could get together and split the costs. Companies could get together and convince the government through maybe, like, I've kind of had the idea that for every 100 residents, if it's under 100, there's just the mayor. So like Virginia City, you just have to elect the mayor, make sure they're pro your company or pro any company, and then the city can help cover things. Or like with Carson City, they would have one mayor and one member of the city council. So you just have to convince both of them to help cover costs. Otherwise, companies could come together and cover the cost themselves, which would then give you direct ownership, control over that line of track or that street or that eventually boat or boat line, dockyard, or airport. Alright. So like in this case, digging this hole would be 140 thorns. So that's pretty expensive. You'd probably want to figure out a way to either split that cost between multiple companies, have several viewers be shareholders in one company, something like that. And then around this corner, only 28.7, so less expensive. And then this bridge is going to be really expensive. Yeah, 789 points.
Build a railroad route that rapidly transports all the ore to the valley.
But there are a lot of thorns to be made. And the cool thing is then you can also do... Oh yeah, still getting used to the controls. Hello. It's, of the little camera controls. To have the horses going about their business. Alright. It is a very nice looking game. So, yes, build a railroad route. So let's say Company C has either been paying for this stuff or working with the mayors of both towns to help cover the costs.
A respectable railroad calls for a proper railroad yard.
With the idea being that the goal is you don't have to... The only money you have to worry about is thorns if you're running a company. So like with Company B, all you care about is that 4,000. You do not need to care about the account balance. We just say that that's tax revenue or something fantastically magical. So this could even be the, instead of Sir Squire's Transport, just State of Nevada. Oh god. Which I think that's where Carson City is, I hope. Virginia City and Reno, Nevada. Yeah. Alright. So that it could count as just sort of the general economic boom that comes from running our businesses in the area. And then that also means if let's say you not own the mayor, but if you've helped the mayor be elected in Virginia City, then you could either impose fees on your competition or potentially help in other ways with thorns, or even just straight up block a certain type of transportation. Let's say you're a new company, Company D, and you come in and you go, okay, I'll invest in the railroads, but I'll just kill the logging industry because carts are really loud, they're really busy and bustly, so we're either going to put a cap, like maybe we'll just freeze the amount of horse traffic to 4 carts, which deeply limits the amount of money that the other companies could make. Or you could just outright ban it, just say only privately owned carts for non-commercial purposes, something like that. So you could use that sort of viewers elect element to fight your business opponents, or just help each other in a fun communal capitalist way. Basically, you'll get to play as robber barons if we get to do a viewers invest. Alright, so we'll get a train depot. We put it backwards. It needs to point in the other direction. Well, that's good of them. Just looking at all the crazy angles we can put it. So yeah, this would cost 37 or 29 thorns, 30 thorns exactly. Oh, well,
A truly well
almost.
done structure. Now it just needs to be connected.
So then, yeah, again, you'd have to pay the 13.7. But if
It's
you
high time
own,
to buy a beautiful locomotive.
if you
together with a
if
few
you
freight
own the
cars.
train depot, then let's say a Company D would have come along and wanted to get in on this Company C train route. Oh god. But let's say Company C had paid for the track and paid for the depot, and Company C can just say, no, I'm not going to let you run trains on this track. So then only Company C is able to run this train.
Ore transport is picking up speed. With a little luck, it'll make you richer than all the silver in Nevada ever could.
All right. Company C. So then, because Company C owns this depot, we can put that in the name. This would be Virginia City. Let's see. Company C depot, train depot. Oh, maybe we can. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yes. So that ensures that Company C is able to completely dominate all train traffic. And the only way that another company would be able to run train traffic is either make a deal with Company C or pay the exorbitant cost of building it in a completely just different, but potentially right along the same side and lines. Because you can, we don't have access to that at the moment, but you can run lines right next to each other really easily. And so maybe the stations are owned by the town. Company C maybe didn't pay for them, and so they're not able to block out people using the station. So Company D is able to come in, pay for expansions of a second line of track that uses the exact same stations to then run goods between the two cities. That could be a possibility. So you can have exceptionally inefficient sort of business competition or exceptionally efficient business competition between companies. At least that's how I envision it. Alright, so we'll let the game run. Get that silver to the Silver Works over in Carson City.
Yes, the deed is done. The first train is rolling down the line. People are dropping everything to cheer your marvel of engineering. Don't pass up the chance to climb aboard and give him a friendly wave. Let's have a big round of applause.
So, let's say you're Company D, though, and you're very sad or just angry that Company C, what they did with the railroad, monopolizing it that way.
Hooray! There's no end to the rejoicing. It's all thanks to you.
Okay. And so, what you could do is maybe bid for control of the Carson City silver ore processing. And if you win that bid as Company D, then you can say, hey, Company C, you're not allowed to ship ore to my ore processing plant. And then maybe you both have to then come to the negotiating table, make some sort of revenue sharing agreement or something like that. Or maybe even Company C is able to go in and get the mayor and the city council of Carson City involved, and they try to fight out Company D that way. So it's all about profit, all about teamwork, yet also looking at ways that you can get ahead of the competition. Also working with other viewers within the company. And that is sort of a proposed overview of how I think, fairly simple and yet concise Viewers Invest could work with Transport Fever 2. So that ended up being a lot more of a spiel than I expected it to be. But hopefully it's piqued some interest and will continue to play through.
Thanks to your railroad, silver smelting is moving fast and furious. Meanwhile, All sorts of fine ladies and high-class gents get off in Carson City. Make sure they don't ruin their good shoes on the muddy streets. Find out about the needs of your future passengers.
And so each scenario, I think, can technically run longer than 10 years, but that's where, because like the game, obviously you can get to a point where you're just making endless amounts of money. And so the goal would be to just have it run those 10 years and then see how many thorns people can get out of it. Some businesses are going to be a lot more profitable than others. Kind of like these log companies. They're slowly but surely building up their thorn piles. And you can even then sell the vehicles at the very end. We could just have that be an automatic thing so people are able to kind of cash out after 10 years and just see how many thorns they could earn. So that's the other part of it. That gives you a cost of like, oh, if I can monopolize something, build a monopoly in Virginia City, then that might be worth it to try to burn some bridges. But also, there's future scenarios, so maybe you don't want to burn all the bridges down with other viewers and players and companies, because it'll start all over in the next scenario where you'll have 10 years to try to squeeze as many thorns out of the playthrough as possible. Alright, let's learn about land use.
Your services are needed to the same degree everywhere in town.
Alright, so there are residential, commercial, and industrial buildings. And we are going to build some bus stops. Alright. I will have one there, maybe one there. One on the way back.
Make sure your coaches don't miss any stops.
Alright, so we're gonna put this out here. Oh, just kidding. Oh, nope, never mind, we're not at that part yet. I have to do the whole line thing. Alright, so we'll add... Oh, God. Oh, no. Create a new line. Alright, so let's say Company D is just wanting to just make a name for themselves. So, Company D, quote-unquote bus line. And, you know, I pictured them being purple. Alright.
Build a depot where the horses can be hitched up and the coaches can wait.
And so, yeah, let's say that Company D is going to pay for this depot all on their own. So they're going to try and get it for the cheapest amount that they can. 17.3 thorns.
Purchase a few coaches with horses so that you can get started.
3. Alright, so then they will buy... So then, let's see, this will be the Carson City Road Depot, but it's Company D that owns it. Oh. There we go. Oh. There we go. Ta-da! Alright, so they will buy 3 horse-drawn carriages, 71.7 thorns, very expensive, but let's say they somehow have a monopoly in the town.
The first passengers are already waiting.
And I've built the depot out here because there's going to be a different opportunity later in the mission. I've only played through this mission, but I really have enjoyed this game so far.
The Territorial Enterprise reports a beast is up to no good in the area.
Oh.
According to eyewitnesses, it leaped from tree to tree, was at least 10 feet tall, had a shaggy black pelt, and enormous feet.
Oh, no.
Ask the reporter what it's all about.
The Irish have arrived.
The reporter, a certain Mr. Clemens, has revealed his source to you. An old good-for-nothing by the name of Sam Hawkins. He's supposed to be in the saloon in Virginia City. Could be it means buying him a couple of shots of hard liquor before he comes up with the truth.
All right, let's find a new clue.
The good man was happy to provide information. The monster got a few feet taller with each whiskey you bought him. Word has it that it gobbles up whole cows, picks the remains out of its teeth with a wagon tongue. Our informer thinks it's hanging around near the Ponderosa Ranch, if he's not mistaken.
Ooh. All right, we'll head up to the ranch.
Now, old Cartwright and his son didn't take too kindly to your visit to the Ponderosa Ranch. Apparently, you're not the first to be hot on the monster's heels. The rancher claims that dozens laid siege to their land, but just when he was about to run them off, they hurried away towards Lake Tahoe with a paper hot off the presses in their hands. The Territorial Enterprise reports. The wild man is dead. His body was committed to the waters of Lake Tahoe, where it will sink to a depth of over 600 feet, be encased motionless in a block of ice, and shrink to the size of a small child due to the high pressure. Well, guess not much can be done about that.
I suppose not. All right, we will learn about the wonder of Carson City.
Where not too long ago there was nothing more than a dreary two-bit town, a magnificent little city now flourishes, thanks to your transportation services. The locals even call it the Miracle of Carson City. More and more people want to try their luck there. Obstacles shouldn't be put in their way. Get into the passenger business. Your tickets will be the hottest item in town. Make sure that the rest of the world is finally connected to Carson City, a veritable boom town.
All right, so let's say Company D just controls the mayor, controls the one member of the city council, and they've come to peace with Company C, but now they just are ripe to invest. Maybe even, let's say they have come to such an agreement with Company C that maybe they've even merged. Now, what would that look like? That would just be... So let's say they're a new company, Company E, which is a green company, because I don't know. So Company C and D have merged. They now have the full financial weight of both companies behind them when working on everything. So anything that's a Company D or a C attached to it is actually just Company E. They've made nice. They've joined each other. Maybe they bought each other out, but like, let's say it was on amicable grounds. And part of that might just be because this is going to be exceptionally expensive. You can already see from the start. Looks like we'll have to destroy a house as well, which throws a little bit of money to the cost. So 165 thorns to build that one station. Alright, and each scenario seems to have its own unique soundtrack, which I'm a fan of. So then another 208 thorns. Jeez. The idea that every person who joins the
Buy a train
playthrough...
arrangement that brings people from all over the world to Carson City.
The idea is that everyone who would join the playthrough would have... would get a sort of 0% 300 thorn loan, so that you have to pay it back, so you don't just get 300 thorns to just take away and go, 300 thorns. But that's sort of the idea, is that there would be... everyone would start off on... if not, I mean, it wouldn't be equal footing, because some people have a lot of thorns already, but at least you'd have a step up to be able to engage with and participate in the Beer Invest. Well, I kind of messed that up. Alright. Oh. So that's going to be expensive. So you can have situations like that accidentally develop where projects, the cost of a project begins to balloon like in real life. But this is fully owned by the new Company E. Company E, Reno to Carson. Pass. Insurance. I don't know if I spelled. I don't think I spelled passengers right. Reno to Carson. All right. So it's an exceedingly expensive project, but they have a monopoly within their newly formed company, and they're able to share those costs because they have merged. Oh my god. All right. So yeah, 1,480 thorns. My goodness.
Time to inaugurate the line from Reno to Carson City, the town built on silver. We're off and running. Everyone is dead set on riding your beautiful railroad.
Right, there's a nice yellow-green color. But there's always opportunities for new businesses to rise up as well. So let's say a new company, EF, I guess, yeah, Company F realizes, oh hey, Ponderosa Ranch makes wood, and Carson City Furnace Firing needs wood, so if I bring the wood to them...
There's firewood up in Glenbrook that
Yeah.
will get the steam engines in the silver works puffing real nice. But watch out that you don't cross paths with the Cartwrights from the Ponderosa Ranch. They're not the kind of folks to tangle with. You barely got away from the Cartwright boys. Now get a respectable load of logs down to the valley as fast as possible before the ranchers come back again.
So let's say to make, like, a new company wants to get involved, they just outright buy the ranch. So it's going to be Ponderosa Ranch, Company F. And then we can use some of these terraforming tools. Actually, maybe not. We'd want to make it a little less steep. No, I'm not even going to try. We all know from City Skylines what happens when you give me terraforming tools. So we'll see. Alright, but yeah, that's where this depot comes in handy. So this depot is actually controlled by Company E now. And so maybe they have to work with Company E to purchase the rights to even get carts on the road. Something like that. Or everyone just does not really care about the regulatory element of business. And everyone just goes like, hey, you do you, I do us. We'll just build everything, kind of like what Company A and B did originally in Virginia City, where they are both running lines, both making money. Neither of them are really cutting into the other one's profits. And no crazy tactics to speak of. So all of it just very hypothetical in what we could use or what could happen. Alright, so here we will try to build this as close to the city as possible, so they don't have to travel as far, while still having the road light up, meaning that they are delivering their, or would be able to pick up the wood. Looks like that's about as close as they can get. However, I think maybe we could get a road up a little bit closer. So we're going to make a street road. Although we don't want it to be too steep. Alright, so this would be 100 and 41 thorns. Pretty far below that road, but I'm hoping that the get some magic to happen. Not quite, not yet. Oh, maybe it has to be able to touch that road. No, there it's. Oh, because then it's touching that road. So here we go. Too much slope. Yeah, that's kind of understandable. All right, we'll have to maybe connect these roads down onto each other. Too much. Yeah, no, too steep. I made a terrible mistake. Alright, so maybe that was a blunder trying to make that road. What a blunder. Alright, but we'll make this work. So it can be, it's the idea being it's exceptionally expensive to set up routes. So whomever can get the route set up and try to get ownership over that route is going to be really important. Whereas then man, it's so close yet so far. Whereas then just packing each route with tons of vehicles, you can make a lot of money that way. So like we can see here, they produce 400 and they're only able to ship 100 because this place can only take in 100, but is currently only consuming, I don't know, less than that. So let's say to help pay for this kind of exorbitant expensive project, Company F will just expand into this business. So they'll set up their own route. Company F, Virginia City Logs. Station, Alright, there we go. So yeah, you can just keep piling lines on top of each other, which is going to come in handy when we get to the end of the scenario, and you'll see where we can just see each line individually, and that will help. Instead of having to click on every single horse and add up everything individually, we'll be able to add up the total value of each line, so that will come in handy. So let's say Company F comes in, they're only going to say they really they are just like, okay, let's go crazy. They're gonna buy 5. I forgot to make it purple, that's okay. And so here they're even going to come in and go, okay, we're gonna need more wood. So that company themselves pay for the expansion, of wood storage at the depot. Here that we can see those Company F rearing off getting ready. So we'll see how it all works. So yeah, we could either have a viewers invest for Twitch on the Twitch side of things, real time, which I think would definitely help entice people to work together, form companies together, or we could even run a viewers invest on YouTube, the YouTube side. And that would allow people to be able to individually run their companies and turn a profit that way. But of course, then it would be a few episodes a week or so. So it'd be slower, but more time to react as a viewer. Whereas obviously a Twitch playthrough would be all live. So there's advantages and disadvantages of both. And I think either could work. So down below, actually, well, it won't be down below. It'll just be redemptions via the regular method from you all to indicate if you'd want us to do a playthrough of this fully, because the maps get larger. There are random maps. There are the campaign maps that looks like there might be a lot of them. Several different scenarios, different time places. They have a note that's kind of like you play a lot of different rules in history, and you're not all good. Actually, most of them, you're not like a good guy. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But it doesn't seem to actually like delve into any of the ramifications of that. It just, you have to live with the knowledge of knowing you're probably a bad person. But that can be fun as the robber barons, since that period of time is over, and hopefully we can learn from it and not ever have it repeat again. Basically all of history. Alright, but just continue to see all these wagons load up with fresh lumber. And here we can see how leveling works. It won't have an effect in this mission, but if the consumption of a business falls because they're not getting enough of what they consume, then the level starts to fall. If they get enough, which I think is like 80% or something, I think it's like this is 10%, this is 80%. If they get 80% or greater of what they need for their production to consume, then they'll start raising their level. This business, nothing happens when it levels up, but it just introduces the concept to us that as you level up these businesses, they then will produce more, because they usually are throughput type businesses where it might be wood comes from here and it goes here and then becomes the actual silver, as opposed to this where it's two different things, and then the silver goes on to something else and gets turned into something else. So it's all about synergizing, figuring out where the best places to optimize are, and then what areas do you want to get in on the ground floor, just pump through tons of goods so that there are more goods running on those lines, because that's where you're going to make all the money in the long run. Especially with these scenarios where we'll only give ourselves 10 years, versus if we did like a full scenario that's a random scenario where I think we'd have like over 100 years basically. So we're kind of getting, I don't know, we can play around with the concept of a long video. What do I need to do? Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry, I need to get some logs up here. Alright, so it looks like the closest we're going to get is around here. Yeah, there. They have to come around that really steep angle, though. But that's what they'll have to do. Alright, so let's set up a route. So let's say this is going to be Company F. And so they'll run Comp F, Carson logs, so. And they're going to go for broke. They are going to go... they think it's going to be big. They're going to throw 478 thorns. They've already thrown tons of thorns at this. They're going to throw even more. That's their hope. They can pull off a big win. And we'll see if they can. Alright, so like no other companies are involved. They just go like, yeah, that's crazy. Maybe they paid like, hey, give me 5 thorns and you can use our depot. And they're like, heck yes. And so then off they go, this giant train, to try to have enough. Ooh. Guess they'll probably have to buy more space up here as well, which can be expensive, especially if it doesn't fill up with logs. This might be an example of how a company could go out of business. We'll see. Well, not even we'll see. They have way more... Oh no, and they have to drive all the way down there. Well, you know. It's a good lesson to learn. Alright, so they're off though. The large wagon train has arrived and is starting to fill up with wood. We'll see if the ranch can produce enough to keep things going. If they can run at cost or above cost, we'll find out. But yeah, huge investment here. Ooh. A lot of horse-drawn carriages running around. So far, it seems to be working out. Oh, well, I spoke way too soon. Yeah, that's a lot. Yep. Alright, they're barely keeping up. Now, the horses have stopped arriving, though. But they're running out of wood. It's kind of close. Now, you'll probably notice it's 1866. And yeah, there's a...
Thanks to the supply, silver ore processing is running at full swing, which means your transport business too.
Excellent. All right, and so yeah, you probably have noticed that there are elements of different locations that do not match the time period. Kind of like depots. But, you know, it works. You just kind of, you look past it and you go, yeah, time travel or whatever. Back to the future! But, like, the next scenario, I started it, but didn't get very far. There's one business that is 100% from the modern day. You're like, okay, yeah. So, if you're looking for... I mean, it kind of reminds me of Tropico. Especially that mission, because you're working for the Dutch. Ooh, so here, there's a huge amount of silver ore backed up. So either the company that runs it, that Company E, although this is originally Company C, they merged, they might want to add another... Actually, let's have them manage the vehicle. And they'll add another 2 gondolas. So this will cost... So I think you can run the train back into the location and it won't cost as much. But if you're in a hurry for some reason, you can modify for a ridiculous amount of money. So they just paid 408 thorns. It made me sad. Oh, they didn't even pick up the silver. That is sad. No. Alright, let's also make sure that they get the vehicle the right color. There we go. Alright, but they will have a lot of silver to run into town, large surpluses of silver to make lots of money. Alright, speaking of money... There we go. Shouldn't the voice be talking? The silver business is doing splendidly, and a cluster of pathetic shacks has become the swankiest town in the whole West. Here is where you find the most exquisite shops. I can't do the voice. It's like a weird, like, mildly Irish, yet trying to be prospector. The best saloons, and the loveliest ladies of ill repute far and wide. Many an opportunity suggests itself to spend those silver dollars you so richly deserved. Your railroad business is the real gold mine in the state of Nevada. So, with what we would do then is play for another... I guess we started in 8... Yeah, we'd play for another 9 years. On probably full speed, basically. But that's where people would be able to recoup a lot of their thorns, try to make a profit. Maybe try to make each line as efficient as possible, and try to make sure that every line is working. So like this company would probably want to sell off. Let's see what that would look like. Actually, kind of looks like they might have enough wood. Never mind, I think they may have pulled it off. It looks like they have. Alright. Oh, do we not actually get the ability to look at each line individually? Thought we did.
The silver business is doing splendidly. Cluster of pathetic shacks has become the swankiest town in the whole West, where you find the most exquisite shops, the best saloons, and the loveliest ladies of ill repute far and wide. Many an opportunity suggests itself to spend those silver dollars you so richly deserved. Your railroad business is the real gold mine in the state of Nevada.
There you go. Alright, so it must be the next scenario that we unlock the ability to see individual lines. Like this, but then you can see just how much money they're making. Which is always good. Kind of like this, but you can see each one individually. But what we can do here is, in this scenario, we'd just be able to go in and click on every single vehicle and count up its thorns individually. Off stream, of course, because that would just be a boring stream to watch. So yeah, that's both the first 40, which is almost an hour, for Transport Fever 2. You're traveling from the late 1800s all the way to the present in the transport industry, the growth of and changing and evolving of the transport industry, trying to transport things, build up supply chains between different cities, and then if we turn this into a Viewers Invest, also make some money along the way. So that is the idea. Hopefully it is a nice one. If you've liked that idea, then be sure to find more at twitch.tv/SirSquire, as well as like and subscribe while hitting that notification bell so you can catch all the Squire Squad action. This has been the first 40 for Transport Fever 2, and I would love for us to get to play more, so hope you all enjoyed it as well.